Second big reason we give for why we need government regulation is asymmetric information. And again, we've talked about this before, but we need to remind ourselves and do things a little more in depth. Asymmetric information means the buyer or the seller, one or the other, knows something that the other does not. You're at a garage sale and you realize that one of the paintings that's sitting there with a $5 tag on it is a Picasso. Do you tell the person that they're selling their $5 million Picasso for $5, or you do buy the Picasso for $5 and then go sell it for $5 million? Most of us are mean. We would buy the Picasso for $5 and then go make the $5 million. This is perfect thing of the used car market. In fact, economists have won all kinds of prizes for studying used cars, like Nobel Prizes. The used car market is full of asymmetric information. The seller of that car almost always knows way more about it than the buyer. And the buyers constantly get ripped off when they buy used cars. That means, again, that the market's not working properly. It's not working the way it should. So besides used cars, and again, used cars are the most commonly used example. Scientists did a study. They had their students all go out and have dinner somewhere where they had fish for dinner, and to bring a piece of that fish back to the lab, and they would determine by doing genetic testing whether it was actually the kind of fish that they were told it was. And it turned out that in this class, 80% of the fish that were eaten by the students turned out not to be the species of fish that the menu said that the buyer of the fish was getting. That it might have been Atlantic cod when they said it was Pacific, or Pacific when they said it was Atlantic. It might have been not salmon when they said it was salmon. It might have been all kinds of very interesting fish, and some of the fish wasn't even all fish. So it was a very interesting study. Is it harmful to breathe chemicals in the workplace? How many ads have you seen for mesothelioma, where people were exposed for years to asbestos, didn't know that it was dangerous? Their company may or may not have known that it was dangerous to breathe in all that asbestos, but clearly the workers should not have been exposed to it. And now it's big industry for lawyers and television commercials. What does organic mean? It turns out there really isn't law that tells you what you're getting when you buy organic, and it's more or less the person who's selling it to you claims to be organic, and there have been many proven cases where a product all of a sudden just showed up with this term organic on it, and it maybe they didn't really change the product. It's just the same product. They just stuck the word organic on it. There's all kinds of arguments about what milk is. It's a really interesting question. When we go buy food, it's it's really interesting to find out what you're really eating if you check it out. A number of parts in this asymmetric information. One is called the principal agent problem. And the principal agent problem is that many times in life we don't actually do something, we get somebody else to do it for us. As a business person, you have to hire workers, and you're trusting your workers to do what you want. If you have a certain idea of what customer service should be like, you may find it difficult to ensure that all of your employees actually perform customer service the way you want. If you're buying a house, you hire a real estate agent. You are the principal, they are the agent. It's the real estate agent's job to get you a good price. However, the real estate agent has lots of customers. If they spend a lot of time getting you a better price, that means they're going to have fewer people that they can take care of. If instead of spending 8 hours on each person, they can spend 4 hours on each person. That doubles the number of people that they can deal with, and it doubles their income. If they can knock $10,000 off the price of a house, you save $10,000. They only get 8% of that and probably half of 8% of that. So for them, they are only going to save a few $100s if they save you $10,000. But if they can sell 2 houses, you with me? Your real estate agent has an incentive to get you a good price, but not the best price. You want them to get you the best price, but putting in the extra time to get you the best price. Okay? So there have been all kinds of studies of real estate agents, and in fact, people don't get the best price from their real estate agent. They could get a better price if their agent spent more time on them, but each time the agent spends more time on that individual, they spend fewer clients, and it costs them more money. And okay, principal agent problem. Number 2, moral hazard. When you make a contract with someone, you assume that they're going to continue to act the way you think they were going to act. If you are about to take out life insurance, do you take it out before or after you start skydiving? And the answer is you should take out your life insurance policy before you take up skydiving, because the insurance agent probably won't get you a life insurance policy if they know you're a skydiver. So you wait, you take up the insurance policy, and then you take up skydiving. Okay? People often go into contracts assuming that someone's going to continue, and don't take this the wrong way, but you see this when people get married all the time. They assume that the person they're marrying is going to continue to act the same way after the marriage as they did before the marriage. But you often hear people say, I thought they wouldn't do that anymore. I thought they... Moral hazard. When you get married, you're assuming that the person that you dated is the person that you're marrying, and sometimes that's not true. Okay? And then the last thing is what's called adverse selection. Adverse selection means people sometimes won't sell products they'd like to sell, like a used car, because they know they can't get a good price. So you might want to sell your used car on the used car market. It's worth more money than you're going to get for it, but instead you just take it to the dealer and trade it in because you know you can't get the good value for that by selling it in the market. Adverse selection. Sometimes people don't sell things that they'd like to sell because they know for some reason they can't get a good price for it. So really quick again, Constitution, because we're Constitution people. Most of the regulation we do comes out of the Commerce Clause, the regulation of interstate commerce. So when you buy a car, the warranty laws vary by state. There's no federal warranty law on buying cars because buying that car is not interstate commerce. The federal government doesn't set warranty rules. Each state does. So Nevada doesn't have much of a warranty rule, and it doesn't have what's called the lemon law. Most states have laws that say there's an implied warranty when you sell a used car. You can't sell a used car without a warranty. And that if it turns out to be defective, you have a certain amount of time. You can take it back. You don't have most of those rights in Nevada. We don't have those laws. So it depends on what state you're in, what rules you have, because your transaction isn't participating in interstate commerce. Remember, though, that sometimes we do things because there's that general welfare line in the Constitution and these implied powers. Remember that there's a list of things that you can do if you're Congress and a list of things you can't do. And the Supreme Court at times says, look, if they can't do things that aren't on the list, we didn't need the can't list. You only need a can't list if there are things the government can do that aren't on the can list. If these 12 things are all the government can do, then you don't need the can't list because those things are just, you can't, because they're not on the can list. But if you felt the need to put a can't list in, That means that there's more that the government can do that you didn't bother to write down in the can list. So the can list is for sure you can do this. The can't list is for sure you can't do this. And everything else the government might do is in that gray area in between that usually ends up getting resolved in a court case somewhere. Okay? It's messy. The Constitution is intentionally vague and messy, and that's one of the reasons it survived so long. Remember also that the Founding Fathers wanted to build a country based on individual rights and freedoms. They wanted a country that was less government than all the other countries that were out there and more about us and our rights and our freedoms. The issue that comes with that then is what happens when one person's rights conflict with another person's rights. My old mentor in grad school used to say that your rights stop where the next guy's nose begins. You have a right to throw your fist through the air. You don't have your right to throw your fist through part of the air where somebody else's face is. Each person's rights affect other people's rights. So you have a right to free speech. I may say, hey, you just tried to incite violence against me. You told someone, used your free speech right to encourage someone to beat me up. Well, is that a legal use of your free speech rights? I have a right to... And so this interaction between two people's rights is always an issue and tends to get resolved again by going to court and what the Constitution says and how it says it. So again, we need to talk about laws. Some of what happens, which we consider regulation, happens because Congress passes a law. Some of it happens because of things that are actual or called regulations. And then we have executive orders, things that come out of the executive branch. And we need to talk kind of about all of this stuff.